Welcome to the Optimum Synergy Podcast, where we discuss all aspects of auto detailing with successful Optimum detailers from around the world. From San Diego, California, here's your host, Dan Williams, Optimum's Western Regional Manager. Take it away, Dan.
Welcome to the Optimum Synergy Podcast. I'm here today with Mr. Ivan LaCroix, the Canadian Wonder. And this is a crazy blast from my personal past, is Kak Varley, who I was in my very first band that I was ever in was with Kak, and the very first time I ever got fired from a band was from Kak. So, so
that's awesome.
It's a really crazy old school relationship. But I was looking around on Facebook and I noticed that he does marketing, digital marketing. So I thought, well, heck, what a fun way to reunite with somebody and bring them in and get a little bit of marketing information for all of my detailers out there who are always looking for that competitive advantage. Kak, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great.
All right. And Ivan?
I am spectacular as always, Dan.
All right.
I'm just happy to be here.
Woo! Living the dream. All right. Kak, tell me a little bit about, I haven't really even seen you for maybe 20 years probably. Tell me a little bit about your journey and how you got into marketing and what you do exactly now.
So that's interesting because, we're from the music world and, we all wanted to be rock stars, right? And here I was, a grunt at a record store, in a record warehouse. And it kind of all started there really because I was just like filing CDs, on all these shelves or pulling them for orders for record stores and stuff like that, which is sort of a mindless job, right? But somebody saw something in me. It was the sales guys. There was 3 sales guys in the operation, right? And the head guy came to me and said, "Look, Mike's taking off, and would you consider doing sales?" And I had never done sales, and I was like, "I don't know. I don't even know what to say to you right now. I've never done sales." And he just looks at me and he goes, "Oh, you could do it." And I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. So, fast forward a year later, I'm selling more than the other 2 guys and they're upset at me. But in any case, I took that on as my career for the next, 25 years or about 20 some years doing sales. Ended up in technology sales, so on and so forth. And then sort of the same thing happened to me when I was looking for a different job somewhere else at a different company, and I naturally was tapping into my network of people. And one of the people was this guy named John, and he ran a digital marketing agency. And same kind of situation. He goes, "Well, have you ever thought about marketing?" And this was probably now, I don't know, 6 years ago or something of that nature. And I was like, well, I like it a lot because I do my own, right? Because I was still doing some band stuff and into the digital aspect of that, right? And I was like, I really enjoy it. And I'm into it. I read a lot about it and stuff. And then he says, "Well, why don't you join us?" I said, "Great. That sounds good." So ever since then, I've been doing digital marketing. And, learning a lot in the last few years, actually. So it's been great.
So pretty interesting that you and I, or all 3 of us, actually, we've seen the whole revolution of marketing change from, print media and like newspapers and phone books to as it's progressed. And even like a day or a week can be an eternity as far as technology goes and marketing. The way you think that you have everything lined up a certain way, and then all of a sudden Facebook or Google comes in and changes the algorithms and completely disbands everything that you've done. So you've been in the digital side for the last 6 years. What's the focus of the company that you're working for, as far like who do they what kind of companies do they market for? Is there a specific angle that they take? Is there a specialty that they have?
There is a specialty, and our group of people actually, which is interesting, is all of us came from the sales side of the business, which is an interesting lean on our business because there's plenty of marketing operations out there that will focus on things like brand, right? But we put a sales focus on the marketing, so we do a lot more things around, say, lead gen, right? And getting results from that lead gen and things of that nature. So we're a little bit different that way. In fact, sometimes people go, well, how come you don't focus on brand as much? I mean, we do branding, don't get me wrong, but that's not a main focus for us because what we look at is how can we, when we get to a business, how can we help them make money? I mean, let's get real. That's what this is about. Let's not hide the fact that we all want to make money when we're doing marketing, right? That's the point. We wouldn't do it otherwise, right? And so we don't have a special business that we do all kinds of businesses. We've got legal companies, we've got software companies, we have, and just on down the line, physicians, we have a plastic surgeon, for instance, So, I mean, we're doing but that isn't to say that it's a one size fits all. Every business is different. You're going to have, and this is a big thing for us. We're very much about strategy, right? Because that's what everybody forgets. And the reason why they forget it is our typical consumer community, because they can just get on Facebook and make a post, they think they're marketing. But it's not really how this works. You know what I mean? And there actually is a lot of hard work, and you have to go over the analytics of things and really look at massage and A/B split test and so on and so forth, right? But even more than that, you need a strategy, right? So what we do is we sit down with the clients and do persona developments and journey mapping so that not only do we understand that business and its audience, right, but so that they understand their own audience. Because I'll tell you what, when we get into these workshops with these people, you'd be amazed at how many, even owners of businesses, don't always know their own audience.
Yeah, very true. Interesting thing that you said there with the two types of marketing. That kind of is how our company is a journey that we're taking right now. So we're working on name brand recognition currently, and we're doing sponsorships with professional race cars in multi countries and some television show stuff where they're going to utilize our products. So we're trying to make OptiCoat synonymous with ceramic coating and our products with detailing. The lead generation, on the other hand, is what we need for most of the people who listen to this, who they're trying to generate leads for their small business to bring people in to do the coating jobs and to do the detailing jobs.
Right. Yeah. That makes absolute sense. Because you talked about Google, for instance. I mean, the whole game has changed. I mean, it changes all the time, as you've already described. And the sort of software brochure that a website used to be anymore is just, that's great if somebody just wants to look you up and see that you're, in existence as a business. But what is the website doing for you? Because there's literally on a user experience level, that website could be doing things for you, both on a acquisition level, right, to bring people in as new business, but even and even more so on the retention level, using your website as a tool for your customers that they can go to and make their jobs easier. You know what I'm saying?
All right, well, dig in. Kind of like tell me a little bit more about both of those, and what are the components that actually make those? Like, what are the things that are going to retain? And I'm imagine part of it is going to be some kind of a call to action as well, so you can get some results, and then something that keeps them on the website. And it's funny, it's funny that you say, there's always so much more to marketing, and you're right, because I think everybody, especially small business owners, they look at the analytics on Facebook and they can see if they make a post and boost it. But, people go to college and get a degree in this. So there really is like a whole bunch behind it. Or if they don't get a degree, they just have, mad experience in that field.
Yeah, that's true. So, again, I'll go over acquisition, I'll go over retention. But again, we'd always have, and I have to remind your audience, we have to start with something first, because you're not going to get anybody to do that call to action that you're talking about unless you're speaking to them and their needs. So on my screen every day on my computer, I have this reminder, and I'll recite it to you. And this would be if I was talking to, say, an owner of a business. There is what you want to sell, okay? And there is what people want to be sold. They sound very similar, but they're incredibly different. So are you feeling me on that so far?
Yeah, so just a different point of view?
Well, I think that businesses often get caught up in what they want rather than what their customers want, I think is the point of that.
I think that's very true. And Ivan, you can jump in here for a second, and we'll kind of relate this to like every car being polished to absolute show car perfection, right?
Well, it comes back to our podcast that we had a couple of weeks ago on managing expectations. And detailers tend to put their expectations onto their customers. So it's not what the customer wants, it's what the detailer wants. And the detailer is trying to sell the customer what he thinks the customer needs, not exactly what the customer needs. So
we're just validating what you're saying, man. In a conversation that we just recently had, it's entirely what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we do these workshops, that whole thing is to be vetted out, right? So we vet that out so that when we get to the digital space, we have the correct messaging, we're talking to them, we're giving them the why are you here, we're answering why are you here? Why is this a benefit to me if I'm on your website, right? And then that's when you can get into the strategies of, well, how do we get them to be interested enough to engage us, right? And that could be through a contact form, you get these technology companies that might do white papers, and there's just a multitude of things that you could do. And so that's on the acquisition side, and I want to talk about something on that because I think that a lot of people don't understand technically how this works. But I'm going to give I'm going to give some information that's kind of not often talked about in the digital agency world. People wonder why there's forms or these things to click on, or if you will, they call them clickbait, right, or something of that nature, or if you will, pop-ups, right, exit pops and things of this nature. The idea is to collect that information, right, and usually it's an email address. So in this world, the reality is nothing's free, right? People still want information. Even though the information might be free, you're still given something, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens technically in that world, and the reason why they want people to give that email address is for the purpose of relevance in marketing. So what happens is, you're coming in from your computer has an IP address. And at that moment, the website only sees an IP address, right? Like if it would be like my house. It would see my house, right? But it doesn't see me just yet until the moment I give an email address. And then what happens on the back end of that, this is how Google Analytics sort of does its thing, is it matches that email address with the IP address, right? And now you can pull all kinds of information. And now you can track, like if you got the website actually done up right with particular categories and things of this nature, you will be able to determine where that person went and what they liked, so that future marketing to that person will be relevant to them, right? So if I was going, I don't know, let's just say it's people adopting animals, right? And I went to the website. Mm-hmm. And they went onto the website and they were looking at dogs, and then they plugged in their email address. At that moment, you would know that they would want dogs. So you wouldn't send them information about cats, man. You know what I'm saying?
No. And is that the cookies thing?
That is the cookies thing, yes.
I think that was that's the technical way to say it too, the cookies thing.
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
chocolate chip or yeah.
Right. But you know, there's so much valuable information. That's the day. I walked into a customer one time, and they were a company that had been around for 10 years. They were a technologies company that sold hardware and software, right? And I said, well, you know, how many email addresses do you have? And they're like, 0. I'm like, you've been in business for 10 years and you don't have any of your customers' information? Like, nothing? No, man. I'm like, well, we've got to correct that because, you know, if you want to continue to touch these people the right way and, you know, keep them, if they're already customers, you want to touch them in a way that keeps them on board retention-wise. But if they're kind of you know, they're interested in your stuff, you want to take them down the path to where you can do what we call a conversion, which is them buying something or using your services, right? Or, you know, something like that. So, so that's the acquisition side of things. And then you get to the retention side of things. If you know, there's things you could do retention-wise on your website. How about this? How about a simple thing? How about your customers are able to pay their invoices online? You know, that brings people back to the website. That makes the website useful. Or there will be situations where, like software companies, you know, they have to make sure that their customers know about the new updates that are coming out in the new version, right? So you'd want to make sure that's available to people at all times. Or even better yet, maybe support, like self-service type support type portal. You know, those kind of things that keep people, that make your customers' jobs easier, right? So they don't have to sit there and call you and then you don't pick up because you're busy and, you know, you got all this stuff going on. You got to wait for them to call you back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And if we jumped in the Wayback Machine and went back 25 years, this would be our mailing list that we would have people fill out.
Exactly. That's what it was, man. You know, and then, you know, the flyers. Remember flyers on the poles, on the, you know, light poles. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Huh. So, okay, that makes sense. When you meet with a company and you build a marketing strategy for them, so you're saying you don't just go in and say, hey, I got this idea. You really get the information about the business and learn about the business, which is smart. A lot of the marketers I talk to don't. They just have a one-size-fits-all solution that they're going to try to push on everybody that they talk to. So I'm kind of impressed by that you would learn that business first. How do you key in and find what's going to work best? Like, do you, like, if it's going to be something with photos or videos or boosted posts or emailings or the clickbacks, not the clickbacks, but the ones that follow you, re-clicks? Remarketing, yeah.
Marketing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like how do you do it, or is that just specific to everybody? And say if you were thinking maybe to work with a detailing business, you know, they're bringing in cars and they're cleaning them. It's fairly self-explanatory. What do you think? What kind of strategy works best for that?
Yeah, that's not an answer I can give you right now because we have to know the business first, and every business is different. That's just an absolute truth, what I just said.
Yeah.
I mean, detailing work. Now, if we got a company where, like, say we work with a lawyer and we then go to another lawyer and he has the same goal in mind, yeah, then the strategy is going to be somewhat similar, right? But maybe the audience is different because he does a different type of legal work. But from detailing over to, say, legal to something, they're all different. So, you know, we need to know that. We need to understand that business. And so that's number one. We need to understand the business. We need to understand the audience. And you know, what the value points are, right? Because that's another thing people forget about. What makes you valuable to them, right? That's another thing. So then what we do is that's where our experience comes into play, right? Because we've been doing this for a while. And then we're going to be able to determine, you know, what are the outlets that we're going to use that are going to be most important for you? Because we're not just going to go in there and say, well, we're just going to do everything, right? We're just going to, you know, we're going to do every social media channel, and we're going to do this, that, and the other, and hope for the best. No, that's not what we do. we already know from the analytics that we've taken from other situations and understand, what social media channels are going to be best for you in your scenario, right? And by the way, some of this is about what a company is able to stomach in terms of time. Like, for instance, what you're doing right now, this podcast, it takes you a lot of time, right? But the fact of the matter is that there's companies that just don't have the time to do a podcast, right? So those are the kind of things we hammer out. We got to figure out what you can stomach. We got to figure out what's going to be working for you. And then what we say is to our clients is that marketing overall is an 80% success rate, meaning this. You're gonna do the best you can. You're gonna put your best foot forward at first, right? Which is that 80% mark, right? And you're gonna always have to revise the other 20%. That's the beauty of digital marketing, is you can do that. You can try things out. We just had it with a company. We picked 5 different channels for this particular company, and we went over the analytics, and it turns out we were using, one of the channels was Quora, and it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working. So we said, boom, out. We're not doing it. It's as simple as that. Or, when we get into the ad space, we start doing A/B split testing, right? So we don't just do one set of ads. We do several sets of ads. Find out which ads are working better than the others. Take the ones that aren't working and put new ones in and have a sort of a competition with ads at all times, right? It's always, in digital, it's always an improvement. And I'll tell your folks right now, if you're hiring some college kid that says, I can manage your social media, that's great, but it's probably not helping you much. And if you hire a digital marketing agency and it's kind of like this sort of one size fits all, or if you will, set and forget, that's not the right place, man. You should be sitting with your digital marketing agency at least once a month and reviewing everything that's going on and making a re-swizzle, like revising it all. You're not going to revise the whole thing, but you're always going to revise something, because there's always going to be something that isn't working, and there's always going to be something that is working. We got surprised one time, and we have experience to know kind of what direction to go with this, but even us as a marketing agency, we get surprised sometimes by the outcomes of things. We were just dealing with a business right now where we're doing advertising, online advertising. And I swear to you, when I went into this thing, I was like, I think the most successful outlet for these guys is going to be LinkedIn, right? But we did LinkedIn, we did Twitter, because they were B2B. So we were doing LinkedIn, Twitter, and Google AdWords and display, right? Well, as it turns out, we got off the phone just 2 days ago, and it was like, AdWords is doing fantastic. And by the way, LinkedIn is not doing all that fantastic. So then you revise things. And the reason why you do that, because here's what happens, and this is what I want your customers to know too, is because when you first get into the digital marketing space, what's going to happen is you're going to have to spend a pretty decent amount of money at first. But the whole point of reviewing everything on a monthly basis is to control those funds and actually work your way down in your expenditures and get more results.
Cut the things that aren't working, yeah. Put more towards what is working, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what needs to happen. And the unfortunate piece of the business that I'm in is that there's just a lot of yahoos that they say, it's like, again, it's a set and forget. Oh, let me take your money and let's show you how many impressions. And it's like, well, impressions isn't helping me, right? If you look at the marketing funnel, I'm sure you're aware of it, Dan. It's the awareness, engagement, conversion, retention, advocacy, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the way it should work. That's a common theme with all marketing, right? And impressions is just awareness, man. And if you're spending all your money on awareness, you're going to spend a lot of money. If you're not getting any engagement or conversions out of that deal, that's a waste of money, man. So, and that's another thing too, is if your customers are working with digital agencies and they're not providing, like we provide our customers with a dashboard that they have access to at all times of all these different graph charts of what's going on, right? Whether it be advertising or the web or traffic and all this and that and the other. If they're not providing that, you got yourself a problem. Because
I got two things. One of them, and I don't know if we can do this, maybe a little bit of role playing, but none of us have to dress up crazy. And that would be where Ivan and myself have both owned businesses, and we work with people who own businesses every day. So maybe like a little role play where you kind of feel out our detailing business, maybe, and do that without giving any of secrets away.
I'll tell you the process of what we do for that, because I'll just skip forward on it. So what we do is first we do persona development. So what we decide is we would sit down and we go, okay, how many different personalities are in your customer base, right? Are they just one? Is it just some rich dude, that wants to get his car detailed, or are there other personalities like somebody's grandma? I don't know. You pick it, right?
Yeah, mostly I'd say
a lot of different personalities.
Yeah.
Right. So we decide on those, and then what I do is I sit down with the customer, and I have basically an interview that I do. And if I can actually, sometimes it's achievable, but sometimes it's not. If I can actually sit down with some customers and interview them as well, that's very effective, because we sometimes find out, because sometimes as a third party coming in and doing an interview about something like detailing, for instance, a customer is more willing to tell them what they're interested and not interested in than the actual company, because somehow or another they feel like, the company is going to take that information and do something nefarious with it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes we can get with a customer, it's really great because they'll give us really honest feedback on what goes on, But we sit down, we basically do an interview with them, we go through all those personas, and then we actually and by the way, we actually take that information, we put it in a document for the customers, so that not only that we'll be, because we'll be using that for the marketing aspect of what we do, but they can take that and they can actually use that elsewhere. So if they have other marketing outlets that they want to use, they can actually take that information and give it to them and go, here's our personas, this is what we need to do, right? So say, for instance, like we don't do like TV commercials, right? Even though that's digital, but we don't do TV commercials. Let's just say detail office says, hey, I want to do a TV commercial for my local area or whatever, right? They can actually take those personas and go, hey, here you go. This is what our audience looks like. And then
nice.
Those guys are going to be like, thumbs up. Yeah, this is great information. Nobody's ever provided me this information before, right? So you got that. And then we'll go, once we got that squared away and we've reviewed it and we've all agreed upon that, yes, these are the people that we're talking to. And some of the questions that we talk about are like, what do you feel people like about your business? What do you feel people don't like? But we even ask questions like, why would a customer not buy from you? Right? We really try to get the owner to really understand it's hard to do. It's not easy, but to understand the mindset of the person across from them. Right?
Yeah, everybody always has their idea, especially the business owner, that they know their customer, and that obviously not.
Right, exactly. So we get down to that, and then we do what we call a journey map. And then the journey map takes that information that we just did, applies messaging at different stages of that funnel that I just talked about, right? So the awareness, the engagement, the conversion, retention, advocacy, right? And then we have messaging along with that. And if we're doing everything right, so in that journey map, we're actually defining what you do at this stage. So if we're in the awareness column, we actually spell out, okay, we're going to do Facebook, okay, and we're going to do this, and then we're going to have this messaging, right? It's not just social media that we do. I mean, sometimes we recommend, like we had a reseller, that technology reseller I was telling you about. We actually recommended they do advertising on Gartner, right?
On what?
On Gartner. You've heard of Gartner?
No.
Gartner's like,
no.
It's like the big, it's the huge group that does studies around technology, and they'll do comparisons of technology companies and solutions and things of this nature. And it's a report that comes out. It comes out with a huge report every year, and they have a huge conference. I mean, basically in the technology community, Gartner is like huge. Everybody looks towards Gartner for information. Okay. But this is an example of what we do there. So then when we have the journey map together, then we start making our plan to actually execute on that, which sometimes means that we might have to reswizzle a web page, or do some videos, just whatever we're suggesting there is what we recommend. And then we basically, then from there, we provide an estimate on what that's going to look like on a monthly basis. Mm-hmm. People agree to it, and then we're off and running.
So when you guys give that estimate, your company is doing all of the pushing the material out and creating material for the customer, or is it just like one or the other, or partial?
It can be and or, and this is the reason why. So you're talking about the content, right?
Correct.
And so if we get into, like, say, blogging, like that kind of thing, and of course, you brought up Google, and I want to bring this up and take a little bit of a segue here. Back in the days, websites were all about keywords. You plugged in a keyword on a page a million times, and all of a sudden you were top ranked for that page on Google searches, right? And then I'll just keep on going. So then but then they changed everything because they realized that there was PhDs out there that were basically figuring out all the algorithms and cheating the system, right, or gaming the system, if you will. And so now they're all about more like thought leadership. They want to see more invested in the content because why? Why not? I mean, Google's an information company, so they want content. And they want content that's valuable at that, right? So now when you look at Google, they have their rules are completely different now. It's all about the amount of content and being in sort of in certain topics. Like detailing is a great topic because it would actually be a great topic for content, right?
And pictures of shiny cars.
Yeah, without a doubt. So, so my point of saying that is that we sometimes then have to look at the website and go, well, this isn't really structured the way we need to be structuring this thing, right? Because the thing about digital marketing, I don't think people truly understand, and I want to emphasize that word journey, the journey map. Like, if you and I get on the web, we have a certain journey that we take to get that information. All of us do, right? Mm-hmm. And it's up to the marketers to figure out what that journey is. And if for some reason we don't provide certain information at a certain step in that journey, what do? We bail. We're out, right? So we're not doing. Yeah. So imagine this. Imagine you could have the best social media channels on the planet, right? That is just spilling out this awesome information. But we always link that back to the website, right? Because we want people to get there because we want them to be interested enough for them to communicate to us, right? But they hit a website and it's like, it's just not even a good website or something like that, right? Yeah. So what people forget is that you have to look at the entire journey from when somebody starts the thought process in their head all the way through into when that data hits your back end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, much deeper than I really was thinking about it.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't understand too, is that the digital marketing space is a techie sport. I mean, we're all from technology. In my group, we're all from technology backgrounds. Every single one of us we're all techies. I mean, the guy that owns the business, I kind of, I joke around and say he's kind of the propeller head of the group, but he is. I mean, the guy is just, you should see the marketing databases that we put together for our clients, and the information we provide just will make your eyes bleed, But that just goes to show how much technology is involved in digital marketing, right?
What does somebody, and maybe, again, this is going to come into there's not a one-size-fits-all, but is there a percentage or a certain amount or a percentage of your gross sales that should go towards marketing?
That's funny because I've heard, I've heard 20%, that's a common number I hear a lot. I don't think that's achievable for everybody, because I work with all kinds of businesses. Some businesses are great. They're making we're working with a jewelry company. You know what their markups are? They're crazy. Yeah, they can put 20% towards marketing. Or some, we're working with a real estate firm that does these vacation spots on the middle of an island, right? So, they got margin. They're doing fine, because they're doing $1 million houses, $5 million houses or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. But sometimes people don't. Like, if you get into technology business, the margins on this stuff is like 10%, and they're not going to put 20% towards marketing. It's just not going to happen. But there again is the beauty of digital marketing, because I could easily put my foot out there and say, hey man, it's easily half as much to market on digital as it is if you were to hire a salesperson or sales force. Although I don't say one's better than the other. In fact, what I say is you probably need both, because at a certain point, digital stops and a human needs to take over. Right?
Yeah, the real human interaction.
Right. So I don't say get rid of one or the other. What I'm just saying is that you can control your expenditures in the digital world, because you got these things called budgets that you can lay out. And once you hit that budget, all the ads stop running. I mean, you know how this goes, right? So that's great. So you're not just going crazy.
So is consistency, and I think you may have kind of answered this earlier on, but what importance does consistency play? And when I said you might have answered it, I mean, you said you can start with a whole bunch of things and then dial it back. But is staying consistent on that message for X amount of time, whatever that amount of time is, important? Did that question even make sense? It did.
Yeah, I think you saw my post earlier today about, he was talking about this public speaking guy. He was talking about, the first 18 months he did his thing. It was like nothing, like nobody. It was like he was just talking to nobody online, right? Because he was doing a lot of YouTubing and stuff. But then it started to kick in. Yeah, consistency is everything in marketing. It is going to take a while. Let me just say to your group, because I run into this logic, and this logic doesn't work. You've got people that believe that every $1 spent on marketing is an immediate dollar in revenue. No. I'm sorry. That is not happening, okay? And by the way, it depends on your business. Look, if you have a product that you can sell online, right, that people can buy easily for a low amount, yeah, your sales cycle is going to be lower, right? It's going to be shorter, right? But if you're doing like a service, you get these services that, I mean, especially, I've been in sales where you do these services, and you're in the public sector world, and the public sector world works from July to June. If you don't make that budget that year, you're waiting until the next year before they'll even take on your product. So you get a sales cycle that's something like 12 to 18 months.
Yeesh.
Right? You know what I'm saying? So, people have to understand that, and it's funny because I'll have these discussions with people, and I had a CFO one time say, well, why wouldn't I just hire a sales guy? And I go, okay, first of all, how much are you going to pay that person a year? Right? Because I can tell you already, we're half that amount right out of the gate. Right? 2, then you got to pay for the technology for him to operate. So you're going to have a computer, you're going to pay for his benefits, or his and her, should I say, and phone, and he's going to be dialing away. He's going to do the dialing, smiling and dialing, right?
That's the worst.
And you think you're really telling me that guy's going to have an instant sale as soon as he hits that seat? Really? Come on, man. So really, and that's another thing too. And I think that people often, it's funny. I created my own term. I call it sarketing, because for me anymore, the future of sales and marketing is that they will no longer be separate. If you look at marketing companies today, you know how salespeople have quotas and they have to meet these quotas and all this. Well, they're doing that same thing with marketers now. I mean, that for bigger companies, some of these guys have numbers that they have to attain.
Well, that's good. I mean, you hold people accountable on both sides.
Yeah, but the point is that in people's minds, they somehow, I don't know why, But for some reason, behaviorally, they separate what is marketing and what is sales. But the reality is they have the same goal, and it's called making money.
Yeah, it's a left hand and a right hand.
Exactly. All it is a different approach, you know?
So what do you, I hear a lot of debate from guys out there about video marketing as opposed to still photographs. Are there any trends that are really prevalent in those that makes one bigger over the other?
Well, I think you're already doing it, right, with the podcasting and things like that. I mean, yeah, anytime, and again, from that post I did earlier, he was talking about the white space, right? And so sort of like the white space was, and still kind of is, Snapchat, and you'll get another technology out there. To me, video is still relatively new, but, again, look what Google's doing. They actually give preferential SEO treatment on video.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you set up YouTube right, and you do transcribing and things of this nature, they will give you, exponential, or should I say, what's the word I want to, preferential treatment.
Yeah.
Preferential treatment on your ranking. Right. So, yes. And so I guess the answer to your question is yes, video is outstanding, but I always go back to, are you providing value? Like in your show, obviously you're providing valuable information. But then again, do you have the stomach to take the time to do it? Because it takes time. I mean, you're going to spend, I think we're going to be near an hour. That's an hour of your time. And then, and this is another thing that people don't realize about digital is like, you're not done yet, buddy. You've got to go edit this thing, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
knows how many hours that's going to be, right?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, really. Actually, the podcast. This will be like episode 113, so I've done it a couple of times at this point. At first, when I started, holy moly, man! Oof.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Now, one of the questions that this brings up, most of our audience is single owner. They don't have a staff. They're doing everything themselves. So they are their marketing department. They are their sales department. They are their workforce. What's the best bang for the buck for someone like that?
And he's going to say to hire somebody like him to do the work so they can focus on doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, that's my goal as well. But
look, I'll be honest with you on that, and that's going to come down to whether he can stomach, spend some money on marketing. To be honest with you, because I mean, it's not zero cost. All right, it's not free. You're going to have to spend some money to do it, and it's not as much as hiring a sales guy. That's for sure, but. It's hard for me to say bang for the buck because, again, I'd have to sit down with somebody and figure that out. But on the top of my head, I start thinking about, if it's a single guy, right, well, wouldn't he want to strap himself to digital so that work could be done? Like there's work going on while he's doing his job? Doing the books and getting the customers and doing the detailing. Wouldn't it make sense that because all this stuff can be automated. We use automation tools after somebody has entered their data into your system. We have email marketing automations that go on and things like that. We don't have to touch a thing. So there's lots to be leveraged on that level.
And there really is, as I've gotten older, I have a gardener that comes to my house to take care of the lawn and trimming the bushes because you know why? I'm busy doing something else that's making more money than if I were to take the time off to do that. So you got to think as a business owner, if you're taking time away from over here to do something over here, you could be not being efficient at all with your time and actually spending more money in the process than if you hired a professional who that was what they're supposed to be doing, came in to do.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's but it also still even if we did that work for them, that they would still have to be involved to some degree. I mean, they got to be able to review this stuff and go, what's working, what's not. What did you see? We had one of our, they do training sessions. We had a company doing training sessions. Well, I mean, I was like, well, are you doing a survey after the training session? And like, no. Well, we kind of need to do that. We need to come up with the right questions. We got to find out, what they liked and what they didn't like, and then we got to, change things up, right? So there's work. There's still some work to be involved, but it wouldn't be, in our sense, we're doing all the grunt work, right? Of the posting, get everything optimized appropriately, and linking appropriately, so we can follow everything along and do the analytics on that. That's the stuff that we do, because somebody posts today and they're not using any UTM links or anything like that to track back. Oh, this person came from Facebook to our website. They wouldn't even know that today. It's just a shot in the dark. That's what I say, is everybody thinks they can just post on the websites, and they're thinking, oh, that's working. Well, how do you know? Well, I don't know. Well, you don't know because you don't know anybody's clicked on it, right? Or, what I'm saying, or clicked on it, went through the journey. You have no idea, right?
Yeah, I would like to grow this podcast more. I look at on Libsyn where it's hosted. You can click on there and it'll show you all of the back-end analytics down to what country and how many downloads came out of what country around the world. This is really, really interesting. But other than for this specific thing, I really just share it into groups that are detailing related onto Facebook, and that's really all that I do. Right.
But, which, and I don't know what your analytics look like, but, everything has analytics, but then does it take it all the way through? Like, you guys have a website, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we do. OptiCoat.com and Optimal Car Care.
There you go. So do you know from the podcast that people are going to the website? Do you know who those people are? Those kind of things.
Yeah. No, yeah. I have not a clue. I personally have not a clue. Although I do want to know this.
Right, because think about what you're doing right now. So you just took on a subject that was marketing, right? Wouldn't it be great if, like, I don't know how many subjects, you said there's 113 in these podcasts, so I have to imagine that every one of these was a different subject at one point, or
pretty
at
much,
least,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, wouldn't it be nice to know, as your business, what subjects were the most popular? Because you might want to return to those subjects again.
Yeah, that's definitely when our CEO, Dr. Gadusi, gets on the show with us. Then we'll go from like 2,000 downloads for a show to like 6,000 in one day. They flock to his, but he will only come on a couple times a year for me.
Right.
Yep.
He'd have a huge podcast if it was just Dr. G.
Right.
So does your who do you work for? What is this company?
It is KakVarley.com. That's KakVarley.com.
Okay, and then do you guys do you work for all sizes of companies?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so nobody's too small and nobody's too big.
There might be a too small. I'll be honest with you, if they just don't have the money to spend on marketing, that might be too small, right? But we've worked with guys that are just real estate guys, right? And we've worked with companies that are public, huge public technical companies. Okay. So, and everything in between. So, yeah.
Cool. That's pretty interesting. So, I guess we're getting close here, but what would you say the top 3 or top 5 mistakes that most people, like, just the blatant, if you're doing this, you're really dropping the ball?
Well, and I've already mentioned them, and the big one is the mindset, right? That's the top. They have a misconception on what this really is and what it really means, right? Again, yeah, anybody can post on social media, man, but if you don't have a strategy behind it, what's the point? There's literally no point, because how are you going to reach that person? You've got to be able to reach that person, man. Otherwise, they're not coming in. These people have to find a detail place in their area, and they have to want to go there. If you think that you're just going to post on Facebook, that's not going to work for you. You can go ahead and do it. Facebook will take your information all day long, but it doesn't mean it's going to be necessarily effective. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's just more of the mindset stuff. And again, yes, marketing does cost money. So that's another thing that people make the mistake of.
The old adage, you got to spend money to make money.
right? And then choosing the wrong company, right? Again, I hear it all the time. Hey, we got this guy. We have this college kid that does our social media for $100 a month. Yeah, that's great. You making any money on that? And just I would just say don't take their word for it. Always look for, even if it is a reputable digital marketing agency, just make sure they're giving you analytics on it, and they're really, I would say, rolling up their sleeves to sit with you and review this stuff and see how everything can be done better. Right? I think in our industry, I think there's a lot of I think there's sort of this insecurity that I'm the digital marketer. I know what's going on. But as I already explained to you in this interview, we've discovered things that were like, we thought were going to work, and it turned out to be a completely different path that we went down. But you know what tells you that? The analytics.
The proof's in the pudding.
Exactly. I mean, I could talk all day long. It doesn't matter until I show you a dashboard. So that's where I'd say, if I was to give these guys the help, use those guidelines. Use those. Ian was talking about expectations. So those are the expectations, and then I would say use those guidelines as you go out there and look for digital marketing companies.
Has anybody just have you ever had an account or worked with somebody who you just could not help? No matter what angle you tried to take, maybe they just had a bad business, or maybe it just couldn't work out. Maybe sometimes you have a car that has paint and it just gives you a fit, or there's something under the clear coat that you just can't fix.
Yeah, we've had. When I think about it, there's a couple things. First is, it's interesting. I've had this discussion before. In our business, just to be, and I hate to say honest, because that would make it seem like I wasn't being honest, but but to be honest, our clients our best clients are the ones that don't know digital marketing and admit that and allow us to help them, right? Or companies that do know digital marketing and work with us. It's the in-between people that we have problems with, the people that think they know digital marketing. And, that's where it sometimes doesn't work out, right? Because they'll want to tell us what to do. We'll go out and we'll be like, well, we don't really suggest this. And they're like, no, I know this is going to work. Okay, so we do it and it doesn't work. And they're like, you guys suck. And I'm like, wait a second. We were just doing what...
But I saw a video on YouTube and it said this was the way to do it.
Exactly, right? Exactly. Now, I have run into...
They know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. I have run into a situation before, too, where, unfortunately, in a combination of things in this one company I was dealing with years ago, where just what they were doing was just simply not valuable or compelling enough, mixed with it was a highly, highly, highly competitive business industry, should I say. Meaning, man, it was like they were coming up they were a smaller company trying to come up against selling the same thing, coming up against the biggest companies out there. And it was like, we'll give it a try, but, can't guarantee it. And it was certain enough, it didn't really fly very well. But that was the only two experiences I've ever had where it didn't work out. I mean, every business has those times that things work out and they don't, right? So that's me just telling you the truth on that one from my perspective.
And where have you had the greatest impact?
Well, like I said, when we got customers that really want to, when they really take our guidance, right? Especially for those companies that don't know digital marketing and are willing to listen. Dude, we have great results. I mean, we just have fantastic results, right? Now, we work with companies that are bigger and they have their own, like I said, there's those other ones that do know digital marketing, and we don't necessarily have to tell them what's working and what's not. Oftentimes they have their own analytics and stuff like that. So we might be doing more, we might be more of just a team at that point. Like, hey, we need you to do this on the website. Hey, we need you to do that. And we kind of do sort of the grunt work, right, in that scenario. But for your kind of group of people, which is, the small business world, if they're willing to listen, it'll be everything to them in terms of, success factor.
Man, that's outstanding. Thanks for taking some time to, share some of that. I think it's actually one of the better podcasts on marketing that you've shed some light on some really interesting things.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to dial into subjects, we can do later on down the line. If there's particular subjects you want to take a deeper dive on in marketing, like shorter segments or something, I'm happy to do that. It'd be fine by me.
Great.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep you on the old Skype speed dial. And
you're on the Rolodex.
Yeah, and actually, let's wrap this up, and I want to take this conversation offline just a little bit. So.
Yep.
Thank you, CAC. Say your company's website again.
KAKVARLEY.com.
And your name is Kak Varley. And so look for this guy. It sounds like he could help out a lot of people.
You bet.
And thanks for listening to the Optimum Synergy Podcast. Questions and comments, leave them for us on the Optimum Synergy Podcast Facebook page. And until next time, stay glossy.
The Optimum Synergy Podcast is a presentation of Optimum Polymer Technologies. Our full line of retail products can be found at OptiCoat.com.
For more information, please visit our website at kPod.com, where we help humans in a digital world.